No, I overcame a fear in the last 2 days of screwing up Laura's clients, relationship with her clients. How's that?
That can be a big one. Yeah, that can be a big one.
Okay.
How about Pam?
I've been reaching out to publishers about guest blog posting, and the second one responded back to me, and I hesitated for like an hour because I was afraid he was going to try to get me to get into a conversation, which sounds really stupid, but for whatever reason, I was afraid to answer him back. But it actually ended up good because we emailed back and forth to the point where he picked one of my headlines and I get to write another article. So I was very proud of myself just to get that over with.
Nice. Awesome. How about Susan?
Okay. I've been working with this client, and when we went into the back end of his site, we found out that it was subpar and it's a total disaster, whoever had built it before. And I had to go back to him and tell him it was going to cost him another $500 on top of that. So that was, I've never done that before. Usually I've eaten the costs, which is really bad, but I didn't this time. And he says, yep, go ahead, do it. No problem.
So yeah, you were kind of afraid of something that never even happened yet.
I'm always afraid of stuff that's never going to happen yet.
Yeah. No, that's a good, you got to remember that one, because I used to be afraid of that too, changing price or going up in price. And I've only had one customer ever get frustrated with it, but it was a big change in price. But if it's small little changes, I think they're pretty understanding. So
yeah, he was good because I kind of threw his own words back at him. He says, like, my quotes stick, but unless I dig in somebody's backyard and find a hidden septic that I didn't know about, then the price changes. So I kind of put that in my emails, and I told him it's kind of like finding that septic in the backyard that you didn't know was there.
Yeah, so it's like remodeling a house. You knock a wall down, you realize all the electrical is out of code. Like,
yeah,
redo everything. So yeah, that's a good way to handle that. And it's not like you can't lose the deal, right? If they give you a lot of pushback, you can always be like, you know what, it's my fault. Like if you wanted to save the deal, they're not going to walk away. If you say, okay, obviously there's a lot of pushback, this is frustrating you, you could start, let's split it. I'll eat half, you eat half. Or ultimately, if I really need the job, fine, I'll just eat it. Just sign the thing, let's go. So you can't lose in any way you handle it.
We were halfway through the project though.
Oh, okay. Even better time to, so yeah, that happens. I remember the guys at Effective UI, they built Boeing's web app for working on aircraft. And I remember them talking about the story. They're like, yeah, we did discovery and we quoted them and we started the project. And our project manager came back and said, this isn't going to cost $100,000. It's going to cost $1 million. Like this is a big change. And they bought it. They sold them. They said, look, we uncovered all this stuff while we were working with you. Like, did you even know what this was all about? So it's all right. Good job. Good job, Susan. How about Miles? Miles, you conquer any fears?
I honestly, I can't think of anything in the past week. Nothing, no major obstacles have come up. But I can think of some things maybe several weeks ago. One was raising my rates to
good one
over that $100 an hour mark. So that was kind of a big one. And yeah, I didn't get any objections to it, which was nice.
Yeah, web design's been $100 an hour since I started.
Yeah,
15 years ago. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Everything else is more expensive,
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Christine.
Hey, my scary thing happened this morning, actually. We are trying to improve our onboarding process when clients sign up for the Smile More Dental Savings Plan. And so with that, we created this form that really asks all the questions that we need to basically develop their web page where the patients enroll and to create a custom brochure for them. And I had never used the form. We really just made it this week, and we're not using gravity forms. We're using a new type of form. And the person I had to send it to today for the first time is just kind of one of those clients that's a little intimidating. He's not very fun. He's just very kind of like,
he's direct.
Yeah, he's very direct. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hope this isn't messed up. And it turned out okay. So I was happy for that.
Awesome. Greg, are you in a spot where you can talk?
I am. Can you see me? Do I have my
Can't see you. We can hear you.
Okay, hang on one second. Let me
There we go.
yeah, now you can see me, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was a little late. I was hanging out in a room all by myself, and it was like, oh, it's 3:04. I got to be in the wrong room.
I've done that before, which is really bad, but yeah.
Wondering wherever all your students are. So I walked in a little late, obviously. Was your question, what fears did we conquer this week?
Yeah, a fear, it could be anything. It could be, I'm afraid of heights and I went on a balloon ride or something. Or it could be I didn't want to pick up the phone and deal with an issue with a customer, and I did. And, fears, anything you were scared to do and you did it.
Yeah, man, I'll be honest with you, man. I am in very much so. I have no fear in sales. I think Christine will attest to that. I sort of have taken your path. I have at this point about 18 years sales experience. And
Nice.
Right now I'm working on a couple projects of my own on top of working with Christine. And I'm really in producing content mode. So I have no fear and nothing is standing in my way right now.
I love that. Nice. Awesome. Very cool. Let's see if I can get this to scroll. Here we go. All right. So our agenda today, we just did our little check-in. We're going to look at playbooks. Some of you have heard that before. You've seen them, but I'm going to share with you playbooks, how I use the playbook. I'll go over some of the admin stuff. The portal should be done 1-2 days. We're fine-tuning how you log into the portal right now. It's little just fun stuff that you deal when you create an intranet. So we'll have the portal up, but today I've got Google Drive links for you. So I'll give you the Sales Accelerator template, and there's actually a whole bunch of stuff that I'll be giving you guys today. And then we'll go over week 2, what's going to happen next week, one-on-one calls, Hero Huddle. I do the Hero Huddle as the open floor Q&A. Just call it a Hero Huddle. So first off, I want to take you guys through a playbook here, and I'll give you the link. Is it going to go? There we go. No, it showed up twice. Beautiful. You guys should have all been invited to a Google Drive folder that has welcome bonuses week 1 and week 2 in it. Week 2 is probably blank right now, but you guys should have anything I put in these folders, you guys should have access to. So if you guys click that link, it should take you directly to week 1 in the Google Drive. Anybody not able to get in? All right.
I can't get in.
Yeah, Susan?
I need access.
Let's see what's happening with that.
Probably doesn't like my email.
Which email do you usually use for Google? The Monarch?
Yeah, it's monarchwebworks@gmail.com. Doesn't seem to work with the info at.
Let's do that. monarchwebworks@gmail.
Yeah.
Okay. You should be good now. I just added you. So if you want to refresh, try to get in there. That should work. And I'm going to stop sharing this. I'll just go over some of these documents just so you guys know what's in here.
I'm in.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right. So just a brief overview. In this folder, you'll have your welcome. And so right now, the recording that we did last week is in there. I don't know if I gave you guys the 50-page business success roadmap That's like a bonus I came out with for signing up for the course. So that's in there. And I always put the slide deck in. So you guys always get the slide deck. So if we come back to the courses, bonuses are in here. They're screensavers. If you guys want some screensavers, you're feeling a little punk rocky, there's the one that I use on my screen. Stop asking for permission. So just some screensavers I made for you guys. And then week 1. So here we're at. We're week 1. And I'm going to go over, this is the sales accelerator. I'm going to go over that differently. Here are examples of playbooks. So mine's a little different, right? The way I did my playbook, I put a little bit more information into it. More about, let's go back here. It's more about, here's who we are. Here's what we do. I put a lot of content in here because I used it as a script, like I really spent time on the words. And whenever I was on the phone, whenever I was talking to a client, I would read some of this stuff because the content was really good. It's all spelled correctly. It's got good grammar. Like I obviously didn't write it. So I would use it as a script, and they said, well, tell us about your process. I could read it. Well, our process is designed to blah, blah, blah. And after a while you get really good at saying the same stuff over and over and over. But here's where the magic is at the end on the pricing pages. So who actually has a playbook? Who's done this and has kind of somewhat of okay, right. Susan's got one kind of partially okay, cool. Mostly virgins, good. So with your playbook, you want to put pricing in it. You really do. You want to put pricing in it. Not flat rates. You don't want to put your hourly fees, and you don't want to say, we build websites for 10 grand. You want to have pricing ranges. There's 3 things that I want to accomplish when I'm giving somebody a playbook. First question you guys will probably ask is, when do we use it? Call number 1 is when you use it. I want to talk about price just as badly as they do, right? And so that's why I put price in my playbook. So one thing you'll notice is that I didn't put pricing based on, you want a Magento website with 25 pages, right? I didn't do that. The price is dependent upon where they are in business. So you guys can come up with your own pricing or your own pricing strategies. But I usually tell them, I'll say, hey, the first thing every customer wants to know when they come to Ebway Creative is, what do you charge? Right? So let's just look at that right now. And my language is very important. These are the typical budgets that we work with regards to our clients, or these are the typical investments that most of our clients are making, depending on where they're at in business. So if you just need a professional look, there will be a starting point. Time is a priority. Budget is immediate. You don't have a lot of time. You want to get something up quick. You're probably in this range, right? You're in this 5 to 10, 3 to 10, whatever it is. You can make it up. But if you no longer just desire a billboard, if you want custom design elements, you want a professional website with a variety of bells and whistles, you're in this area, this 10 to 30. There can be overlap, whatever, but that's kind of where you're at. Now, if you want a fully custom design, you want a digital product, you want UX, SEO, you want all these acronyms, then you're a little bit higher. You're up here, okay? Then I usually pitch it back to them and say, where do you fall? Are you more in the sort of magenta zone? Are you in the blue zone? Like, where's your business? Where are you guys at? Because that you determine your pricing based on where your business is at today. It's very much the same as the ballpark conversation that you guys have heard before. Are you competing in the major leagues, or are you competing, in the low leagues? It's very much that type of conversation, but it's about their business. So who's in charge of the price? They are. Right? Not me. They are. So I'm not setting pricing for any other reason than trying to get their business to the next level. So there's something else that's going on here that's really critical. We scroll to the far right. I want the biggest number I can possibly put on the far right because it's called an anchor. I want them to look at that and go, wow, I can't believe people spend $50,000 on this stuff. Like, that's crazy. I guess 5 to 10 grand doesn't sound that bad, right? we don't want to price like a commodity. The way we've been taught to price, like GoDaddy, HostGator, it doesn't matter. Your hosting companies, your software as a service companies, we work in this industry, right? We're the creatives and we're always signing up for stuff and buying software. The way that pricing model works and the way we've been trained, they usually give you 3 options, but their goal is to push you to the middle, right? Here's your starter plan, here's your pro plan, and here's your agency plan, right? It's like $50 a month, $100 a month, or $500 a month, right? They're trying to push you to the middle plan. I'm not trying to push them anywhere. I want to educate them and show them what the ranges look like. And later on, we did actually add ranges to these, so it was easier to talk about. But then I just tell them, look, now the pricing thing is out of the way. Are you in the green, the blue, or the pink area? Like, where are you? And they'll tell you, right? So we did the same thing on the monthly sort of stuff. Are you in startup mode? Are you professional mode? Or are you in the premier area? Same type of anchor. Whenever I used to show people this, they go, there's actually people spending $15,000 a month on SEO and PPC. Yes, there is. Wow, 2,500 doesn't sound that bad. So it's really one of those things where you're anchoring them, you're showing them huge numbers so that the small numbers seem that much more palatable. Does that kind of make sense so far? So the way you use the playbook, it goes out on the first contact. I used to automatically send it out. If they scheduled a call with me, if they would actually schedule a call, the autoresponder would say, hey, we got you on the calendar. We're really excited to talk about you, or to talk with you about blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, here's our playbook so that we don't have to spend time talking about us. When we get on the phone, it can be all about you. So the playbook will tell you about us, who we are, who we've worked with, how we price our projects. That language is very important, not what we charge. We're not showing you how we price our projects, because we're pricing them based on where you're at in business and where you want to be, right? We're not pricing them based on how many pages you want and what software you want, and that's a terrible way to price a project. Is that all of that kind of making sense so far? I know I was going a little quick, but you guys jiving with that?
Yep.
So in here, let's see if I'll share my screen again. There's a few examples that you guys can see in that folder. But every time I switch my Zoom, the camera just goes crazy. Here we go. So there's a couple examples. My example is in here. This is one from BMD. They didn't do the 20-page deal. They just created a one-pager, just a one-page sheet to talk about the same kind of stuff, right? And then this is another one-pager, Spectrum Design, which I thought was super cool. Spectrum Design, this actually goes with their brand. It's super cool. But they did kind of the same deal, right? Average price, average price, average price. So they went with one-pagers, which I think is fine. Great start. I started with a one-pager, and then you can add. I found it was just a little bit more successful if I put a couple of case studies in there, for me, it was a script. I created my playbook because I wanted something I could refer to while I'm talking to the customer. So I'm using the same language with everybody. Because the problem, as Greg will tell you, anybody that's been in sales a long time, the only way to know how good you are is to look at your closing ratios, and the only way to get good numbers is to do the same thing every time. You can't, if you change your pitch and you change your language and you change how you do everything, you don't know what works. You just don't know. But if you kind of have the same regiment, you pull out the playbook and you do this and you ask this and do it. If you take them through a story type, process, then you can go, oh, you know what? It looks like I'm losing people when I go to the process page in the playbook. That's where it is. So that's important to just know what you're doing and have it lined out. Make sense? Cool. Any questions on playbooks?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I've had this happen before, actually, where I'll pull out the pricing guide and I'll hear about all of their expectations, their goals, and then they point to the cheapest option. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, well, that doesn't align at all with what you're hoping to achieve. I don't know, just any thoughts on dealing with that?
That's it. Some of it is who you're talking to. So it's
Yeah.
the lead that came in and, you know, their background and all that. But it's also a little bit of a preemptive strike to show them a playbook that doesn't really have features in it. It's more, this is where you're at, this is where you're trying to get. So when they say stuff like, well, we're trying to innovate in the market, we're trying to take over this region, or when they start telling you what their goals are,
Yeah.
not really software related or work related, but when they start telling you all the things that they want to do, that's your cue to look at the playbook with them and start reading, you know, some of where they're at in business. Like, well, so you guys just said you are ready to integrate an application and you want to take over eBay. That's not what the startup plan is about.
Right. Yeah.
That's for somebody that just needs a billboard. So I'm happy to keep your investment at that range, but that's for a company that budget's a priority, time's a priority. You're just trying to get something up real quick. It sounds to me like you guys aren't doing that. So help me out. Where are you getting that number from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's that coming from? You know, it might be an arbitrary number where it's Miles, I just want to spend $2,000, right? I don't want to spend more than that. That's all I want to spend. Well, let's work and see. Let's see if we can come up with something that works for that. Maybe even, Miles, give them a couple of options. You know, are you open to phasing out the project? You know, it sounds like you got a lot of stuff you want to do. I'd be happy to help you phase that out and make it more palatable over time.
Yeah.
So I think you still give it a go. Like, you still try, still try to educate them. And when they say they want all that stuff and they point at the cheap option, you can kind of look at it and be like, okay, like, am I on candid camera here? Like, you just described the premier option, but said you had a $5,000 budget. Like, do I really have to point that out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we even have to discuss that? You know?
Yeah.
But my big thing when they say numbers or they give me a budget, or I usually just try to, what do you mean by that? Where did you get those numbers? What are those based on? That sort of thing. You know, Greg, do you run into that? Greg, what do you do if somebody does that to you?
Hang on. Oh, I thought I was I thought I was muted. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I was trying to find the playbook that I've used in the past. I can't find it on this computer. I think it's on an older computer. But I do the same thing. It's basically, I give them a range of 3 things. Like, here's the starter, here's the mid range, and I'm sorry, I can't even remember the nomenclature it uses, but it's 3 different levels, like, you know, bronze, silver,
like a good,
bronze,
better,
silver,
best.
gold.
Yeah.
Bronze, silver, gold, and I'll usually go over it with them on the first call. And I'll have them tell me where they are. So I'll explain the playbook to say, here's essentially how we bring everything together depending on what you're looking to accomplish, where you are, and how aggressive you want to be in getting there.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll go over it in detail. It's not that detailed, but I'll go over it in detail and then ask them, where do you see yourself now? Or more importantly, where would you like to be on this playbook? And they'll say, well, right now I'm kind of in the starter, or I'm a little bit more than starter because I've been in business for a couple years, but I really want to make that leap, or they, you know, whatever the answer is. I want to go in stages. I just want you to take me to the next level. And that gives you sometimes all the information that you need to know.
Right. It does. It does. I also think it's when you have a playbook and we have this sort of pricing thing, to sometimes, Miles, to explain to the client, if that's what your budget is, that's great. It's a starting point. Like, let's start there. But just realize over the next 12 to 24 months, you're going to get here. Like, we're going to help you. We're going to phase this thing out. And if you want UX and SEO, and like, if you want all these things, you're probably going to invest $30,000 to $50,000 in your online presence. You don't have to do that today, right? But over time, we can work with you and phase that out and keep that as the long mission, you know, and we'll have little battle wins, but the war is going to take a couple years, right? And that usually works for me. It usually works really well with doing like a needs versus wants. You just told me you wanted all this stuff. What do you absolutely need versus what do you want? You know, when I was in the military, you get a day pack, right? And the day pack, that's only what you need. Like you are putting nothing in there that is extra. It's only what you need to get you through that day. There's nothing else in there. So all the want stuff stays on the bunk. I'm going to get that later. So it's just one of those things where help them maybe describe to you what's the need, what's the want, and let's split that up. Let's go with what you absolutely have to have now, and then let's get into your wants list later.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Any other questions or insights or stuff on the playbook?
My quick question about the playbook is, you mentioned that somebody wrote it for you. If you would like to provide who that might have been so that we can fine tune ours maybe. I mean, I know that we're working with specific, different writers, so maybe that's not as important. But two, how often did you change it out? I mean, is it something like every year you went back and revisited? Is it after every sale you decided, okay, what worked, what didn't? How long did you say, this is it?
That's a really good question. Let me see if I'll show you something here. Let me go to playbooks. What do we got? Sales docs. I can find stuff quick when nobody's looking. I feel like everybody's looking over my shoulder. I can't find anything. Like me and Greg both. Okay. In the entire time that Evway was in business, which is 12 years, 10 of those fully incorporated, 13 years, my bad. We only had 2 playbooks. We only had 2. I'll show you the first one that we ever made. And it's not bad, but you can tell, like, okay, that looks like a design that they might have built in the 90s, or early 2000s. So a little bit different language, a little bit different presentation. But this was the first one we created, I think in 2010 or 11. We created this one, and we were just trying to do something different, come out with a playbook. We didn't put any pricing in it. It didn't have any pricing. So we would kind of talk about pricing, with the customer. When pricing started to become constantly an issue, like even in the Magento world, when they were coming to us with a preset budget, like we were actually getting leads that people said, we already know it's going to cost 30 grand. We have a proposal. Can you look at it and help us? And even then we started to get like pricing issues. That's when we came out with the new one. This one, I think we created in 2015 or 16. And the only thing I've ever adjusted on it, Laura, is the pricing. Just inching it up, raising it up here and there, or trying different things. Putting $1,500 at the bottom of the green there and saying, this is for landing pages, quick mini sites, or something like that. Nobody ever bought that though. Nobody ever cared, so I just removed it. Right. So I think you review it, and when it stops working, you'll know. Like if the industry shifts big time to redo the playbook, time to redo it. Does that help?
Yes. And I never thought about because I use an investment range that came through. Many of us have got a similar thing, but I never thought to do it for the social, for your second range that you provided. Never thought about that. So that was a gold nugget already today that we're going to run with.
Yeah. And again, the language we used was really critical, because I would say these are the typical investment ranges of the businesses we work with. This is their typical investment. So again, I'm trying to stay away from this is how much we charge, right? Or this is how we, whatever. It's more, this is for you based on where you're at in business. These are budgets and investments that our typical clients have. So I'm trying to just subconsciously let them know I'm not in control of the price. They are. Make sense? Good question.
Hey, John, I found mine.
Would you like to share it? Can you screen share?
It's on a computer sitting next to me, so I don't know if I can bring it over. But just to give everyone an idea, it's like I'm going to basically say the same thing that John said. I just used different wording, but it's the same thing. It shows a range of 3,500 to 50,000. I had only ever done one 50 grand website, but I did it.
Yeah,
so
but you did it, so it's there. Yeah,
but I did it. And it's entry level, standard, premier. and then it has the price range, and then solution expectations. It says a starter build, a semi-custom build, or a fully custom build.
Yeah.
And then each one has a couple bullet points of what that means. And then underneath, I think, is the more is the part of the document that people pay most attention to, because it leads them into looking at it by saying, this solution type is for you if you are, and then it's broken up as validator, performer, or market dominator.
Yeah.
And a validator essentially says, hey, you just need to validate that you're in business. It's essentially describes a brochure website.
Very cool.
Performer is a little bit more commerce and lead generating driven. And then market dominator is, I want to be the Uber of, I want to be the Amazon of, I want to, whatever industry you're in, you want to dominate that industry. That's how you want people to think of you. So no, really no different, just using different language. And it worked.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Greg.
Thanks for listening.
Any other anything else on the playbook? You guys feeling pretty good about it? And look, copy mine, throw your logo on it. I'm not using it. I don't have Ebway. It's fine. I don't care. The content in there is really good. Maybe I'll even throw another one in there, another couple, so you guys have other languages. But those examples, actually,
I think going too far to say throw the design files in there, because you gave us design files once before.
Yeah, I think if I have them
still using that.
If I have them still, I think all these were created with Illustrator files. So let me just make a note. I'll find the Illustrator files, and then I'll put those in there.
I have your old one that has the design continuum single page that had the bar that went across the top.
Yeah, we did have that one for a while too. That was just to add pricing to the one that didn't have pricing. And then I was like, this doesn't look the same. We should probably redo the
you gave me the design files for that too, and that was huge. So that makes a big difference.
I'll find those. Yeah, I've got all that. And then I just started using like PowerPoint or Canva, because Illustrator was not my forte. I just got tired of going back to the designer, and he's like, can't you just grab Illustrator and do the change yourself? No, I don't even know how to use it. Like, let's just make it in PowerPoint. Let's be easy. Okay. Thank you, Barry, for that. Yes, we will put up the actual templates for that.
Awesome.
Now, we're going to go through my favorite part of today. We're going to talk about sales process. Okay, and here's my methodology. Here's my thinking. I don't want you guys calling clients right now. Like, hey, we're taking this course. Boom, you're buy. I got some shit to sell. We're not doing that, okay? We're going to first prepare our home for company, right? Because right now we probably got stuff everywhere. Like, just imagine all of the sales stuff you guys have, whether it's the lenses in your brain, the strongholds you have, your opinions, what you've tried. There's a lot of garbage that we carry around, okay? My goal is today we're going to look at a process, figure out how we forecast stuff. The playbook is how you start the conversation. So we're going to just kind of set our house up and get ready to bring people in. Because I've seen this problem before where, and I can use her as a case study because she said I could. Deborah Scarpa from Design by Friday, they went out, they got a whole bunch of leads. I had done this type of course with them a couple of years ago, and they went out and they brought in 1,100 leads from this big show that they did. And she was like, I don't have a process. I don't know how to handle any of these people. Like, I've contacted 20 of them. There's 1,100, 800 of them are pissed off because I haven't gotten back to them in 2 days. I don't know what to do with all these people. And I'm not saying that is the norm, but if you got 5 leads today, you'd probably pull your hair out. You'd be like, well, where do I go? This guy wants this and that person wants that. Without a process, and my process includes dollars, right? What do you focus on? Where do you spend your time? Who gets your attention right now? Who gets your attention tomorrow? Like, how do we calibrate all of this stuff? So we're going to go over a sales process, and we're going to, you guys actually can download this PowerPoint from the Google Drive folder so you can use this. But the first thing I want you guys to remember, if you're selling in the B2B space, they're trying to make a boss happy, not themselves. Anybody hiring you in the business-to-business space, they're trying to make their boss happy. Now, they could be the owner of the company, but they might have a board. They might have ownership, people that have ownership stake in the company. They're trying to make somebody happy other than themselves. In the B2C world, if you're selling to consumers, they're trying to make themselves happy, right? And so that just changes the conversation. So this is a proposal-based process, right? This is mine, comes right out of my CRM. We have a field that's contacted, and if you picture, I'll show you what this looks like in the next slide, but contacted. I completed the first touch with a new lead by phone call or email, whatever. They have been contacted. What do? I explain the key benefits of my solution, determine if there's mutual interest or good fit or whatever language you want to use, right? So this is my contacted point. If there's mutual interest, if it's a good fit, then they can move into the qualified stage. If not, they're going to stay right there and contacted. I'm not deleting them. I'm going to call them till they buy or die. We'll talk about that later. But I'm going to move only people that are mutual, there's mutual benefit there, move them into qualified. And what does that mean? And I won't read all the text to you guys. You can read that. But we just want to qualify them. You guys know how to do that. Then we analyze needs, right? We gather information. Some might be a pre-discovery, might be a smaller discovery, but we want to analyze their needs. And then we present a solution. So we demonstrate something to them or show off or case studies, however your solution goes. I wasn't fond of creating like solution presentations. When I present the solution, I use other customers to show them how we're going to fix their problem. So I would, meet them up online and they said, well, yeah, we don't know what marketing is working and what's not. I said, oh, look, this customer had the same problem. So we built a custom dashboard and Google Analytics and we did this and we did that. Here's how I solved that problem. That's my basically solution presentation. Does that make sense? So then we get to proposal presentation, review it in person or online. Just a little tidbit on notes, and I'll probably say this 20 times through the course. When I'm presenting a proposal, I scroll right down to the price first. That way, otherwise they're not paying attention to you. They're checking email. All they want to know is how much it costs. By the time I get to proposal presentation, they've seen my playbook. We've talked about their budget, their investment. I kind of already know what they're going to say yes to, right? I kind of have an idea. By the time I'm doing my proposal presentation, I know they just want to see the numbers. So I'll scroll down and I'll say, here's what we've got. You said your budget was 10 grand. We came up with a range of like 8,500 to 9,800. How's that sound? That sounds great. Cool. Let me show you how I got there. Then I go back up and now I go and review the proposal, right? I have always had nothing but good success with that, with clients going, thank you so much for starting with the price. We didn't even know if we wanted to listen to your presentation if you weren't going to get the price. Make sense? Get a signature, ask for the sale. Closed won, closed lost. When I do a closed lost, so when they move through my CRM and I mark it as a loss deal, I have to enter in why I lost them. So it's going to say, did you lose in competition, price, you didn't like them, they didn't like you, whatever. Why did you lose them? That's going to be important in the future because I'm going to follow up in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever. I want to know why I lost them because I might have fixed that problem since we've last talked. And if it's price and they went with somebody else, the market probably re-educated them and now they're ready to spend what it really takes because they probably went cheap, didn't do it properly, it never worked, and now when I come back around to them, maybe they're ready. Does that kind of make sense? So it's just an example. Take what you like, season it to taste. This is like definitely my number one way I set up a CRM. So, I got my columns and it looks something like this. And there's a reason that it looks like this. So you guys notice there's a bunch in the lead area. there's a big old stack of Acme inks in that lead area. That's just because I'm tracking them. That's not where I spend my time. If you spend your time with leads, you're spending time with people that are not qualified. You don't know if they're a good fit. You don't know if they have a budget. So I don't spend my time during the day calling leads. The leads I call when I've run out of my contacted, run out of my qualified, run out of my analyst. When I've run out of everything else, that's when I work the leads list. Make sense so far? Most people spend too much time working leads, too much. So when I'm out of everything else, I can work leads. Now, the goal of any sales process, I'm not trying to sell them. I'm not trying to get them to the end and get a won or a closed deal. I'm just trying to get them through the process. So my only goal when they're a lead is to contact them, make contact, mail, phone, whatever. That's my goal. If I've done that, they can move to the next column. Once I've contacted them, my only goal is to qualify them. It's not to analyze their needs. It's not to present a solution. It's not to propose. It's not to close. It's just to qualify. And so I'll preemptively strike this that when I get on the phone, hey, I loved our last contact. It sounds like we might be a real good fit. Today, in this call, we're going to spend 30 minutes to see if we're a good fit for one another. Sound good? Yeah, sounds great. Cool. What's this? What's that? You know, you go through your qualifying questions. Does that make sense? So what you'll notice too is I'm going to give you guys a tool that kind of works this. You'll notice you'll get less and less contacts as you go through, right? So you might have 100 leads, then you might have 20 contacted, and then 10 qualified, 3 analyzing needs, 2 presenting a solution, and 1 proposal out. Like it should get thinner as you go up. If it stays the same, you got 5 leads, 5 contacts, 5 qualified, 5 solutions, 5 proposals, and you win every single one of them, red flag, your pricing is too low, or you're over-promising and you're going to under-deliver. You cannot close everyone. Everyone is not a good fit. So if you feel like, wow, people brag to me, I close 9 out of 10 people I talk to. Awesome, your pricing sucks. Like, that's why. That's sure. I can go sell stuff at Walmart too, but I don't want to. You know, that's not where I want to be. There is nothing wrong with shopping at Walmart, but I guarantee you a guy looking for a Cartier watch is not looking for it at Walmart. So we got to know the audience. We got to know what we're doing. Now let's take a look at the Sales Accelerator template. Let me open it in Excel. I wanted to put it in a Google Doc, but I just haven't had time to do that. But this will be, I'll put a link to it. Let's see, here we go. Let me give you guys the link so you can grab it. Don't worry, you don't even have to know how to use Excel to use this. It's all pre-programmed. It's all there for you. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the deal stages. So remember, we were just talking about lead, contacted, qualified, right? If you want to most people don't know how to forecast their sales. If you want to properly forecast, you need to know the win probability of each one of your columns, right? This is very important. A lead has 0% chance. I have no idea. So that's a 0. Contacted, okay, 10%. Qualified, 25. You know, that means 1 out of every 4 people that are qualified will make it to the needs analysis stage. Does that make sense? How the math is working? So these are all based on average probabilities, but these were mine. These are the numbers I used. If I presented a solution and actually took somebody through a presentation, I had a 50-50 shot of closing them. Like it was really close. If I actually got to the proposal stage, it's like 80%. I was going to close them because we've already done the budget. We've already done a couple of discoveries. I've already won their trust. So it gets easier and easier. Make sense? So now that we know where this is where the math comes from, okay? So now when we look at our sales pipeline, depending on which stage we're in, whether it's lead, contacted, qualified, it's going to take a weighted forecast with that. It's going to change your numbers. So this one looks like I messed up the math, but this one here, so Tesla Motors, contacted. They have a $130,000 budget, but they're only contacted. That means the win probability is 25%. So I'm only forecasting $32,000. I'm not forecasting a $130,000 deal. There's a lot of reasons for this. We will look at our sales that are coming in and we'll do calculator math and we'll screw ourselves up. We'll say, oh, I've got 10 deals. They're all worth 10 grand. I got 100 grand probably coming in. No, you don't. Not all of them are going to pay at the same time. Not all of them are going to close at the same time. So to accurately forecast revenue, you need these percentages so you kind of know what's happening. Also, if somebody's just a lead, then their numbers shouldn't matter, right? Their number's 0. So I don't know why that one's messed up. I'll have to fix that one. But this is the way I do it. I go month 1, month 2, and month 3. So we had like a 90-day rollover, right? Where people would contact us and they'd be 2 or 3 months out, a month or 2 out. And so I wanted month 1, month 2, month 3. I want a deal title. Who's my contact person? What stage are we in? What's the deal worth? Oh, this one is worth $300,000. But since they're a lead, 10% chance probably of closing them. So I'm actually looking at 30 grand instead of 300 grand. And then what's the expected close date? Who's the sales rep? Is it me? Is it Laura? Is it Barry? Is it Christine? And then what's your next activity? All of this can be done in a CRM, but I didn't want to say, hey guys, here, sign up for a $100 a month CRM. So this is a nice Excel sheet that just helps you accurately forecast what's going on. And it has Q2 total, Q1 total. And if you go down to the very bottom, we have a quarter here. So 4 months. You have a grand total of the deal amounts, what they're worth, gross, but we have a weighted forecast of what's actually probably going to come in over the next quarter. Does that kind of make sense? Because you can get messed up. You can make a lot of deals, but how many of us collect 100% of the money up front? Hardly any of it. Nobody. So it's really good to forecast to know, cool, I made $1 million in sales, but that's probably going to come in over the next 4 or 5 months. It's not coming in today. That's not my sales right now. That's over time. That's what's going to happen. Can you guys see how this would help you kind of forecast revenue, know where you're at, and help you with your sales?
Yep.
So it does 2 things. If all I want you guys to get out of this template, the first thing it does, it shows you who to call. Who am I spending time with? Well, this person's in needs analysis. I got to get them to the next stage. That's a really good stage for me. I'm calling them first. Presentation, I'm calling them first. Presentation, I'm calling them today. And then these leads, when I'm done calling everybody else that's on that higher conversion rate, now I go to leads. Now I go call those people. Does that make sense? It's a barometer. It's a barometer. Where am I going to focus? What am I doing here? What am I setting this against? So then you have deal insights, and this thing will actually track your sales versus your forecast. My partner built it. I'm not a big CEO, CMO guy. He thought it was amazing. It's here. So if you guys want to use it, that's great. All it's telling you is, hey, you've got 500,000 quoted. That's possible, but because of their deal stages, it's only worth 149 in real revenue, right? Does that kind of make sense? Did that skate over anybody? Or are you guys feeling good? Okay.
Good.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So now we've gone over the playbook. That's tool number 1. We've looked at the sales forecaster. That's the only way to accelerate your sales is to know who to call, right? And how to contact them. And so next week, when we bring in calls and customers, let me share my screen. So next week, when we set this up, and if you guys do have a CRM, happy to help you set it up. We could use a one-on-one call to build out your CRM, but set up your CRM. I have options that are no cost. I have options that are high cost. I have free options that plug right into Google and Gmail. So if you guys would like extra help on that, I think the CRM is so personalized to each company. I wouldn't just recommend one for everybody in the room here. I would recommend one to each of you individually based on your needs, where you're at, what you want to accomplish with it. So if we want to use a one-on-one call for that, that's probably the way to do that, and I can help you set it up. We're going to review the Sales Accelerator, and we're going to check out pipelines next week. How do you actually create a pipeline? And then we're going to talk about selling to existing clients. Or as somebody like, I think maybe Susan or Pam said, I don't want any of my existing, I want new clients. And so we're going to go over how to find new people as well. And the big thing next week is the sales script and the sales quoting tool. So next week, I'm going to tell you exactly what to say it, how to quote it, how to put the tool in place, and you'll have a script that you can just rinse and repeat, practice, and say. It's not like you'll read it to every prospect, but you'll know what to say. You'll know how to handle things that come up, and it has a lot of preemptive strikes in it, So that we're going to do next week. And then my big thing is taking action. So I think a lot of you remember accountabilities. I call them objectives. So objectives, because objectives lead you towards our mission, get you guys more sales, more money with a proven process so you can rinse and repeat it. The objectives are what get us there. These little mini things, right? What do we want to accomplish in the next 7 days that's going to get me closer to that? So I'll just round robin and grab your objectives from you guys. So, and remember, you only got 7 days, 5 if they're work days. So it's not the big thing. It's just the little thing you want to get done. And if it's something outside of this course, we can put that down too, as long as it's sales driven or in the sales category. So let's start with Barry. Barry, what would be the one thing you want to accomplish before we meet next week? Build the playbook would be a good one.
Yeah, Laura and I were just chatting about our Q2 rocks. Yeah, that's big.
And it shouldn't take too long because we'll have templates and all that kind of stuff. How about Pam?
Definitely the playbook. I've had that on my list for years and moved it up 2 weeks ago and still haven't done it.
Oh, we're doing it now. I'm not going to let it go. Yeah, we're getting it done now.
It will be done.
How about Christine?
Definitely at least a one-pager of the playbook. And I think Greg and I need to huddle and figure out how we're going to handle the dental savings plan versus all the other services that we offer. So
and I have seen
a template already.
He probably does. Well, and there is a way. I didn't have it on any of mine, but I saw some other playbooks where people did the pricing like I did. They put the general pricing, and then they had like add-ons at the bottom, like Google local business page setup, or setting up your Facebook, or doing a brand refresh, or just these add-ons that were sort of one-time fees, little ranges on them, so that the customer felt like they had a menu. Like, okay, I want this, and yeah, I love that. Let's do those 4 things, So if they're general, if you can productize it, if they're kind of generalized, for a really good idea that I saw was they had their basic pricing, and then they had stuff that makes websites work better. It was like, you want schema tags for Facebook marketing. You want a chat box integrated, a little chat bot. You want an email funnel system set up with Constant Contact or ActiveCampaign or whatever. They had these add-ons that were really easy for clients to say, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. So we'll do 1 page playbook. How about Susan?
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine was going to be the playbook as well. I do have some sort of a version, a one-pager, so maybe I can just expand on that and do it properly.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of wishy-washy when it comes to pricing.
That's a good thing. So the point of the playbook is to get you unwishy-washy. print, right? It's in print.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's sooner. Someday we came up with our pricing and we said, this is what we want to charge. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks go by and we're like, oh, I'll charge a little less. I don't think that guy wants to spend that. Oh,
So guilty.
yeah. And we're like, nobody here is Karnak. You can't read inside a letter. You can't read people's minds. So we don't know. I think most of the time we screw around with our pricing because we are afraid of it. It's like, oh, that sounds like a lot of money. I'm not going to tell them that,
There we go. There's the problem.
So yeah, the playbook will help because we'll lock in your stuff. You'll have a range, so you still have flexibility, right? And then you'll have something you can talk to them about to kind of walk them through. And they'll identify themselves to you. Most people do their pricing all wrong. They do it all wrong. They'll price like a commodity. They'll say, we do marketing. We've got 3 marketing packages. The starter is $500. The pro is $1,000. And the enterprise is $1,500. Problem with that, they're so close together, who cares? Like, if I can spend $1,000, I can spend $1,500. That's not a different type of business owner. When you have 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, when you have larger, like a 3 to 5x multiplier at each level, those are different businesses now, right? Now they're identifying themselves to us and saying, we can afford $50,000. That's a totally different business than somebody that can't, So there's some identification there that I think is critical because they're going to tell me what their budget is. They're going to identify who they are and where they're at rather than giving them this super close pricing thing that doesn't identify if they're high value, low value, mid value, kind of puts them all in the same bucket. Does that make sense?
Yep. Definitely.
Very cool. Very cool. And, I just lost my screen. Of course I did. Where did you go? Here we go. All right. Miles, what's your big objective this week?
So the playbook for sure. And I'm also reach out to 20 other agencies. So I've already got that close to ready to go.
Cool. I'm going to put that down. Reach out to 20 agencies. Yeah, Miles got a firsthand look at some of my sneaky tactics to find referrals. It's going to be in the course. It's a little cheat that I'll show you in the course. How about Laura?
I put down playbook as well as the CRM. The playbook is going to be number one, and if I happen to find that bonus time on Saturday when my kids are away, then it'll be this looking at the CRM.
Cool, super cool. Let's see, Greg, do you have an objective different than Christine?
I do actually. We have been taking a client through the discovery process. I finished the last session last week. I'm putting it together now, and I propose next week before this call. So it's probably right now looking to be about an $11,000 proposal. So my objective is to close that deal before we jump on this call next week.
Awesome. Thank you for giving me a great example of how not to set an objective. So this is good. I didn't tell you guys this. It's not your fault, Greg. So here's the difference. So that's a lead. It's worth $11,000. You probably don't need my help reminding you to call that person. Like I think you got that on your own. You're going to do that. So I think, is there anything else that you want to do either after that call or before that call, or something on the sidelines that you've been putting off that you want to get done? It maybe something the group can help you with, or
I have a suggestion for Greg.
Oh yeah, please throw it out there.
Maybe you and I could sidebar in figuring out a way we can get a CRM that we both share instead of the HubSpot one that I use that I don't think I can bring another team member in on. Yes? No?
Don't you have two? Can't you put 2 or 3 people on that free version of HubSpot for no cost?
I've never tried. I just assumed I probably could.
Take a look. Take a look, because I know Shalane and I used it. 2 people on the free version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it worked with Shalane and I. That would be great. Because I've used it before. I could help you guys set it up, show you some ins and outs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
I kind of want to, if Greg can use it, probably have to readjust it a little bit. My columns are set up differently than, with your process that you outlined.
Yeah, and I think we had 2 processes, because Shalane had a different job than I had, and so I had my sales process, and then Shalane had a process in there for her admin stuff. Send the invoice, do this, do that. But I love HubSpot because it's free and it's really cool. You send emails, whatever they let you know somebody's on your site. They let you know somebody answered your email or somebody opened the email. So I think it's a good one. Like, I wouldn't switch it up if we can get you and Greg on there. And from that, like most CRMs, it's just a matter of, does the user experience, does the interface match with how you think? Does it make sense to you? Because some of them don't. Some of them are terrible.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Yeah, so
There.
both Laura and I are in Active Campaign, and we spent a good chunk of change on automations that are sitting and they're not being used. So they will be, but so I'd like to set that up, because that's a CRM too, and use Active Campaign, because we're paying $80 a month or something like that.
Yeah. I'm using it too, so I can help you guys with that as well.
Neat. That's what I wanted to hear.
It's not a good task manager. It's a good CRM, though. It is. Objectives. Okay, so I think I got everybody's objectives. So we're good there. I won't share the screen again. I'll just give you the link. So, strategy calls. Here's the link. And this is going to be everywhere. You guys will get this in an email as well. But that's the link. It's a special link that only you guys have to schedule a 60-minute call with me. Most of my other links are like 20 minutes. So that's the way to schedule a strategy call. If you look at it and you go, he has no time, I probably blocked an entire day off or something. So just hit me up on Slack or email and say, do you have anything open? Usually a Friday is when this happens, because I just block entire Fridays. But I try to keep it open enough so you guys have plenty of options to set your one-on-one call. We've got 4 or 5 of them to go through. They never expire, but let's use one over the next couple of weeks on CRMs or processes or something you didn't want to bring to the group. That can be, who knows, you're firing somebody and you don't want to talk about it here. Okay, fine. But use the strategy calls. You guys got plenty of them. And don't forget about Slack. Everybody should have been invited to Slack. You're all in the group.
No, I didn't get any of that.
Oh, it's probably the email too. Let's do that.
But I also haven't had our initial phone call either, which is scheduled for tomorrow. So that was the soonest one I could get in.
That works. That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll go
That's
back in
for the
time.
20-minute or 30-minute or whatever that was.
We'll go back in time, and I've got a DeLorean, so we'll run back there and we'll do it. We just got to reach 80 miles an hour, Susan. We can get there.
Back to the future.
Well, Susan, if you wouldn't mind, hang out with me just a few minutes after. And
Okay.
Actually, let me do it right now. Let me just see. Can you put that Gmail address one in the chat for me? Because I don't have my email open. But if you throw the Gmail in there, maybe then that would work with Slack. Is that the email you use with Slack?
I don't know what I use for Slack.
Okay. Well, with the Gmail, I'll have both of them, and we'll get you in there. So yeah, the Slack channel, guys, I leave it open all the time. So there's unlimited. It's wide open. It's an open door policy. If you guys are running into something and got you stuck on a Thursday morning, just Slack me. Just at Jonathan, I got an issue. You got 2 minutes? I think Miles might have taken advantage of that. I can't remember. There's a couple of people though that have taken advantage of the. Hey, I just have a quick question. Can we chat real quick? Sometimes that's all you need to just get you to the next level. So hit me up on Slack. If it's a simple question, I'll just answer it there. If you want feedback from everybody else, just tell us what you want. Hey, I want feedback. Who's done this? Who's dealt with that? Kind of make sense? All good there? Awesome. So now We get into the hero huddle after hours. No topic off limits. Any question is a good question. Who would like to start? Did anybody come with an opportunity or an issue today?
I have a question about the proposal thing you said, like showing them the price to start. Why put it at the end? Why not put it right in the freaking second page after the intro letter and say, we're going to start here, then we'll explain.
I guess I never thought of it. You could just, I always liked to have my like overview page, deliverables, here's all the stuff. And then at the end, here's your, because usually my investment where it shows the price has a signature line on it too. Like that's where you sign. And it says by signing this.
But the signs it way at another page after all the.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could absolutely. I've never really thought about it.
Thinking out of the box kind of thing,
I kept the flow of the proposal the same. I just went down to the price first.
Cool.
So I'll just put one out there. Was this valuable for you guys today? Do you feel like you got something out of this? Tried to put something in there for everybody.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Laura, I think you're muted. Unless
Sorry.
you're talking to somebody else.
Yeah. I just wanted to say just that encouragement and the discussion about being in a strategic position and letting someone else handle the tactics of projects has been tremendous. And I've used it many times this week. So thank you very much. And it has the only bump in the road that we hit it's the first time I ever scheduled a discovery, and they went, whoa, wait a minute. If we're paying for discovery, why aren't we? Because I'm used to having that come off or a percentage come off the project. So that was the first time he's like, I'm not paying unless I say I'm going with you. So, that he still wants to see the price range before. And because I was bringing in a production team, I've never, I didn't know what prices to give him. So the goal was it was that client that I was had mentioned last week that I'm trying to stay in the project as an active party that it actually get paid as we go down this line instead of just handing it completely over. So that was the only time that, or the only thing that was a little bump in the road, but I still think he'll circle back around and do discovery. The production team said that they may fold that price in and make sure I still get paid. But anyway, just want to mention and say thank you for that graphic. Truly helped.
You're welcome. I'll bring that into this program. People probably like to see it. Laura was referring to clients always coming in and asking us for tactics, right? Going, oh, I want to do some SEO and we've got this quote. Can you meet it or beat it? And they're always coming in at a tactical level when I would back them up and say, okay, you guys are going about this all wrong. Like the biggest problem with companies trying to do marketing is that they start with marketing. Like that's terrible. Let's back up to strategically thinking about who we're contacting, why we're reaching out to them, who do we want, that sort of stuff. We need to strategically plan out a marketing plan, then pick the tactics that are going to work. And that's what Laura was referring to, is getting the clients off of the tactic and onto the strategy. Because one of Barry's goals is to not have to do any of the tactical stuff. Just here's your strategy. Here's what you should do. Here's what you should use. Here's whatever, your language, your branding, the boom. Now, here's a couple of SEO guys that can fulfill that and do production of that or whatever, so staying out of the weeds.
Question for you on that note, on what Laura was saying. I was on that call and I got really discouraged because getting people to sit down and pay for discovery to come up with a real solid number on a project, what's the solution, what are the strategies, things like that. In Laura's niche and in my niche, I have customers that are going to say, I'm not going to sit down for even one meeting without you giving me a price range. And then we do have the price continuum thing, and maybe that's what you should follow, I guess, the next time you talk to them. But how do you not spend a ton of time, but give him some solid information where he can say yes? Because this customer really, in so many ways, Laura said, I'm not going to go to 10 different people. I'm not going to screw around with this. I just want to do it, but I need some numbers.
I love that. So that person, it could be a little bit of a red flag if they're trying to go too fast, but I would preemptively strike all of that so you don't even run into that guy. So after the fact, it's a little harder to recover from, you just kind of dance or whatever. But before we get to that point, I use the playbook, or like you said, the continuum that you have. I use the playbook, I go over the pricing, and then I start talking to them about how we initiate. And I usually give them two options. Like, I love telling stories, right? And so I'll say, look, typically the clients that start with us with whatever they picked, if they said, this is our range, we're in the blue, we're in the pink, we're in the whatever, we want to spend 15 to 20, whatever they say, my first rule, my first immediate response to whatever number they give me is up to. Because they're going to give you a number, but that's not the number, right? They're going to say, yeah, I'll spend like 10 grand. Cool. So your budget's $10,000 up to, and I shut up and I wait for them to go, 12, 11. Like unless they go, no, 10 grand's the top. Okay, cool. Right. But I'm going to at least give them a chance to give me a higher number. So here's my budget. Oh, great. You're telling me your budget's about 10,000. Cool. Up to. And just shut up. Just wait for them. And most of these are little short outtake videos that you'll have in the portal too. So you guys can go back and look at these. I do some role playing like this, but that's the first rule, up to. Then I will tell them a story. I'll say there's two ways clients work with us. And either one is fine with me, but one is better than the other. The first way, the best way to work with us is we go through a process that I call our intensive discovery process. So it gives us all the answers. It gives us everything we need to know, and it helps us outline to the T exactly what the budgets and timelines are going to be for the entire project, period. It is so dialed in that you could take the document I give you after discovery and throw it to other agencies, and they could quote the job within an hour. So, not that I want you to do that, you could. That's the value of that document. The way those engagements work is customers will come in and typically spend anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 for that discovery document, right? Think of it as an architectural document. If you're going to build a house, you need an architectural document. Odds are, if I dropped off everything at your house or everything in your yard, that you could use to build a house, the odds of you putting it together are slim to none. The odds of you hiring people to put it together, it's not going to work unless you have an architectural document. So that's what we give you. That is a really low-cost way to start with us. And then we already know that your budget's 10 to 12, what you said. We already know we can kind of get there with some, maybe there's some needs versus wants we have to do with you. But it sounds like we're in line. So if you wanted to start with a smaller engagement, you can pay for discovery up front. And whatever the price for the project ends up being, we'll just take that off of the final price because that is our planning stage. The other way people do business with us is they will say they don't want to pay for discovery. They just want to go straight to the proposal. That one's going to lend itself to just a higher range. That's all. That proposal is going to say, you want all this stuff and we're going to do this, and it's going to cost you $8,500 to $15,000. That's where we're at. I don't know what it'll exactly be. It'll be a wider range. If we can go through discovery first, which I highly recommend, we'll be able to dial that into its $8,500 to $9,200. You'll have a much smaller range. Just like if you go to the doctor, you don't go into the doctor and say, my shoulder hurts, how much for shoulder surgery, right? That's not how you operate. You tell them your shoulder hurts, they investigate, they look at it, they give you options. You could do physical therapy, you could do this. They prescribe what you could do to fix that. But we don't walk into doctors with our own prescriptions. Hey, I'm here because I want surgery today. But that's kind of what we're doing in the web world. And so I'm kind of telling them these stories so they realize how silly it is, right? I took a phone call yesterday. This is actually, I was going to send them over to you, but I put it on the Slack channel. Nobody really responded yet. I got a call from they're on TV, plastic surgeon out of Beverly Hills. The first question, how much do you guys charge for social media marketing? That's like asking me how much we charge for cars. Okay. Actually, it's like asking me how much we charge for automobiles. Do you want an 18-wheeler that costs $250,000? Are you trying to carry horses? Are you trying to go off-roading? Do you want a Porsche? Do you want an Escort? Do you want a Tesla? Do you want to save energy? Like, man, I don't know. Social media marketing, what do I charge? $500,000 to $500,000, somewhere in there, you know? And he laughed. He's like, yeah, that was a stupid question, huh? I said, well, yeah, I mean, in your work, you're a plastic surgeon. People come in and tell you how much for a set of boobs. Like that, I don't understand where this comes from. Don't you have to consult? He goes, yeah, we have to have a consult. I go, is that free? No, it's not free. It's actually a few $100s. And then when they come back, is every visit free? Well, no, there's a visit charge and all that. I said, well, see, we're both doing discovery. We both have the same. I have the same process you do. And we kind of had a laugh, and he said, okay, cool. And then I said, unfortunately, I don't do that anymore. You know, I wanted to warm him up so I could actually pass him to somebody, because he was really cool. The lady that I talked to was really, really nice. So I didn't want to be like, Ebway's closed, kick rocks. You know, I was nice, educated him so I could hand him to somebody nicely. So, yeah.
There's a recommendation in the Slack, by the way.
Nice.
Barbara made a recommendation, and I backed it up. And if you don't know who he is, we can get you information.
Is that one of those, if you don't know, now you know kind of thing?
Yeah, Rupert. I don't know if you know Rupert.
Oh, yeah. I do know Rupert.
That's his niche.
Cool. Did that help with that question, Barry?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I think most objections can be handled by just preemptively striking them. What you guys are going to see in my sales script, I bring everything up. You know, you're probably going to say that this doesn't fit within your budget. That's okay. We'll come back to that. Stay with me, right? I'm bringing it up all the time. You probably don't want to do 6 calls before you get a proposal, right? Yeah, I know. Just stay with me. We're going to get somewhere. Trust the process, Mr. Cuss. Just trust the process. I promise you'll like it. Stay with me. And I'm bringing stuff up all the time. You know what they're going to say. You guys all have a gut instinct, and you know there's clients that you work with that you know they're going to have a sticking point with something. Shine a light on it. Shine a spotlight on that sucker, because if you don't get rid of it, you'll never win the deal. Make sense?
What do you do with the clients that don't have the time? Like, I work with construction trades, and they just don't seem to have time to go through all of this process stuff. What do you do with them?
That's good. Well, because I think, I worked a lot with HVAC contractors and plumbers and electricians, and they're always on the road. They're in a van or a truck, and they just they're not in an office. They don't want to sit there. So my answer to that before I got started with them would be, where is this at a level of importance? What other things do you have going on that are more important than what we're talking about today? That's my first question, because I want to know what's going on that's more important, or what's going on that would take precedence over what we're talking about. And they're going to give you any list of things. Well, we got this, we got to wrap our trucks, we got to blah, blah, blah. They're going to tell you anything. You're just using that as a launching point to saying, what would it take to make this a priority? So you've heard them, you've heard their excuse for not making it a priority. Now we're going to ask them, what would it take to make this a priority? And we're going to just skip ahead a couple of weeks. This is when I get into COI. So everybody write that down. COI, not ROI. ROI is you can't sell people with ROI much anymore. They don't believe you. COI is cost of inaction. So as an example, Susan, they might say something like, we just don't have time for this right now. Let's circle back in a month. Well, we've done a lot of talking, Mr. Customer, right? And it sounds like we can improve your revenue and get you a couple more clients a month. I mean, are you prepared to just not have those new clients for the next 30 days or 90 days or 6 months? Or what's it actually costing you to not have this in place? What is your crappy website, your horrible branding? What is this stuff costing you? I don't even know if you can put a number on it, but there is a cost. There's a cost of inaction. So what would it take for you to make this a priority? What do we got to do to get there?
Right.
And then maybe even give them a preemptive, you know, if it's a contractor. I had a lot of contractors that weren't really good during the day. So I'd say, let's do a morning call before you leave the office, or let's do a call in the evening when you're out of the office, you know, on your cell phone, in your car, like away from all those people, something like that. Does that help a little bit?
A little bit, but I've tried to accommodate them for before hours or after hours, and then they don't show up because they said that they were busy, or they say, well, I've got everything through word of mouth, so the website really isn't a priority because I've got too many customers and that's why I can't talk to you, but I know I need to have a website. Like I get that a lot too. So.
Well, I think, so there's a couple things you could do. We could make welcome videos that explain that kind of stuff, so you don't even have to say it all the time. You know, you make like an evergreen video of, you know, hey, welcome to Susan Smith's company, or, you know, whatever it is, right? We've got a little video here to prepare for your next call. We're just going to go over a couple of things. What we hear the most is you don't have time. Well, okay, what's that costing you? You don't have time. What is that really costing you? What's it going to take to make this a priority? So you can make a video, or if you could get them on the phone, if you could talk to them, Susan. My big thing is telling them stories, you know. We work with contractors all over the United States, and they're always in trucks, and they're always busy. And the problem is when they actually get spare time that they don't plan on, they didn't put it on their calendar, they didn't block out time, they just found some time. It just happened. That's when they contact us, right? They reach out on a Friday afternoon at 12 o'clock while they're eating their sandwich, and that was the only time they had because they haven't really planned on doing this. And they assume that they can have an hour-long phone call, get a price, and make a decision. And it just doesn't work that way, Mr. Prospect. It just doesn't. You could tell me to kick rocks after we're done talking today, or I can help you fix this cost of inaction and help all this stuff start working for you. Are you willing to knock time out of your calendar for me?
Wow. This is recorded, right?
It is. It is. No, it is. And I think basically what we're doing, Susan, you know, for everybody here, we're just I'm not overcoming an objection. I'm more business consultant, right? Like at times you got to put on different hats. You know, I got sometimes you got to be the therapist. Sometimes you got to be the preacher. Sometimes you got to be this. Sometimes I got to be the accountant, right? And go get money. So you put on these different hats, and it's not so much a sales hat. It's more of like my consultant hat. You know, when they'll say stuff like, well, we get plenty of business through word of mouth. You said that, right? We get plenty of business through word of mouth. I don't really think I need this. Why'd you call? You called me. Like there's a problem somewhere, right? So what happened that made you do a search, ask somebody, get my number, and actually get on the phone with me? Why are we here today? What are you trying to solve? Let them answer that. Let them go through that. Awesome. Cool. So when you say that you live off word of mouth and referrals, you probably just waited for that time to show up. And that's why we're talking, right? So you give them that story and you say, what's going to happen when the referrals run out and the word of mouth is not happening? You'll probably call me again. That's when you're going to come back and go, we should have done this sooner, right? Now we're kind of stuck. We're in a hard spot. I guarantee you it will happen because I see it every day. You know, I deal with this every day. You deal with it once every 2 years. I've dealt with enough business owners to know this is how it goes. Those word of mouth and referrals will run out someday. Here's what's even worse about that. And the reason when you tell me you live off of word of mouth and referrals, I get a little, you know, not sure if we're going to be able to help you, because I don't know that your mindset is correct. Because those aren't your customers anyways. Those are somebody else's customers that they're sending to you. You know, the other thing that's going to happen is someday, sooner or later, you're not going to get enough. You're going to go running for new customers. What do you do then? And then maybe educate them, Susan, on, look, it takes X amount of time for a website to kind of propagate online. It takes it could take 9 to 12 months to build a social media presence. It could take 3 to 9 months, you know, to do SEO. All of these things take time. The sooner you start, the better you are. If you disappear for 3 months and I don't hear from you until September, you'll be exactly where you're at today. That's not a positive story. You know, I'd rather have the positive story of this time in September, you're cracking champagne, thanking me for changing your business, making things easier. Here's the creme de la creme, the best thing you can. The reason I'm going through this is because I have to like treat you guys as a prospect. So I say what I'm going to say. I finish with, now the train left the track. Look at that. Go over the time. You tell them a story. So I give them 2 stories, right? The positive, the negative. I told you, what's it going to take to make this a priority? I already did that. What's the last thing that I say? Oh, here's the last thing I say. If after all this conversation, Mr. Prospect, you still feel like you don't have time, let me make a suggestion. May I make a suggestion? Yeah, absolutely. You're not leveraged. You're obviously not leveraged. You're spending too much time in your business, not enough time on your business. I'm the perfect person to help you with that. I can help you with that. We can build in automations. We can help, I don't need you for 5 hours a day for the next 3 weeks. I just need you for like 30 minutes here and there. Like, I don't need a ton of time. I just need a little bit of time to gather up your information and get stuff down. If you're not leveraged and you legitimately don't have time to talk to me or go through this process, we need to look, are you leveraged properly? Is this a priority? Are you just kicking tires? Which is fine. Like, I'm not saying this is right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just trying to figure out where you're at. So where are you at? Does that make sense? Like, it's a normal conversation with them. We'll work on this through the course, but we can't be afraid to ask them where they're at. Why are we talking? You called me, right? And you do it, I'm saying it in kind of a jokingly way, but we can do it in a very professional manner of, well, maybe you can help me understand something, Mr. Prospect. You called me and you said this. Remember when you said this? Remember when you said this? I can help you with all of these things, but you don't have time to work. Can you help me understand the time factor to these things that you said you're having a problem with? Make them eat their own words. Right? Does that help, Susan?
That was awesome. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Don't forget
Thank
that
you.
you're not leveraged. I don't have time. Okay, you're not leveraged. Or, hey, I don't have time. We get plenty of business, plenty of word of mouth referrals. I'm swamped every day. Maybe I should be taking advice from you then, because I'm not set up that good. Why are we even talking? Like, maybe I need to hire you to come consult my business. And it's funny and it relaxes them a little bit. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that was a little silly, right?
Hey, John, I have a question for you.
Yes, Greg.
And it piggybacks on the thought process of what Susan said. Where do you personally, when you had Ebway, at what point would you say to yourself, okay, now it's a red flag and maybe I don't want to work with this person? Because as you were answering for Susan, I'm going through the dialogue in my head, like, what would I say? And I was following your train of thoughts. But now I'm wondering, at what point do you say yourself, or have you said in the past, this person is just, now they're turning into a client that I might not want to work with because they're just full of excuses and they just want me to throw something up there, and that's not the type of business that I want to do. And I know everyone's business is different when they want to throw that red flag up, but if you put yourself in Susan's shoes of, she obviously is in a niche that she's getting that objection all the time. I'm working on a niche with Christine. So I'm trying to determine, like, when do we throw the flag up and say, I'm not so sure about this person.
So I had a couple rules. I mean, there's sometimes the gut instinct of, this person's really aggressive. I don't think but my rules, are they qualified? Do they have the budget, or actually sometimes I would look at how they're paying. So people that want to use a credit card for everything, I'd say, oh, you get a lot of points on the card? Well, no, it's just easier to pay it over time. I'm very leery of the credit card people because they're financing their marketing or their website And if it doesn't work, they're going to apply a lot of pressure on me. So I'm leery of that. I'd rather do ACH, or sure, pay your deposit with a credit card and make it a little heftier. Just the credit card sometimes, when they want to use it and it's not for points, it's more for finance. It's like a yellow flag. Like, I hope they don't, get on me about that. The other thing, are they willing to work within my process? And I ask them that. I'll say, are you guys willing to let me be the captain of this project? Because I've done this a million times. I mean, we build 4 or 5 sites a month. How many have you built? Right? You probably built one every 3 years. So as long as you guys are willing to follow my process and let me guide this project, I'll be the account manager. You will be the customer. We will work together great. And as long as you're willing to go through my process, I think we're going to have a great time. Are you willing to do that? Yes. If they say, well, no, we don't want to do 5 calls. We just want to price. Red flag, right? Red flag right there. Red flag if they miss meetings. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt if they miss one. They don't show up to the first. I'm like, well, they could have gotten a wreck. They could be having an emotional day. I don't know. I don't take it personally. But when they're like 10 minutes late, I send them an email. Actually, I wait about 5 to 10 minutes, and then the email goes out. Sorry, I missed you today. I shut down the Zoom meeting. Let's reschedule. Pick the best day and time that fits within the next 5 or 6 days. If you have questions, email me, and I'll kind of back off for a few days, right? Just let them. If they schedule another meeting and they miss a second meeting, now we got to have a talk. Now, what's going on that these meetings aren't a priority? What's happening? So those are my red flags there. Probably the biggest red flag is the guy that every time we talk, he has a new idea, right? I don't want to work with that person. They're very sporadic. But those are they're willing to work within my process. Is the budget kind of making sense with what they want? With me, how do they talk to me? For me, I don't really like working with big corporate analytical type of folks. So if they're getting very analytical, if they're getting very corporate, it's a red flag for me because they're probably not going to listen to me. Does that help, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Good deal. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.